So if you clicked on this video, then chances are you're thinking about either buying one of the family rise gardens, or you might have already bought one and you're panicking and worried that you might have made a terrible mistake. Because let's face it, these things are not cheap. So let me walk you through some of the things I like and maybe don't like quite as much about the family rise garden, and then you can decide if it's worth the money for you. So if you're new around here, then hi, I'm Kiri. I'm a micro homesteader in Zone 5B in Pickering, Ontario, Canada. And on this channel, I talk about growing food indoors hydroponically, as well as outdoors in the garden, and other ways that you can become more self-sufficient. So one of the first things we need to talk about if you're considering about getting one of these gardens is they are not cheap. In yield Canadian dollars, the single rise garden is going to cost you about $750, the double $1,200, and the triple is going to come in at $1,500. If you are south of the border in the United States, then the single rise garden is going to come in at $550, the double at $750, and the triple at $950. If you are thinking about buying one of the gardens, I'll put my coupon code here as well as a link in the description, and that's going to save you $50 off of any of the family rise gardens. But let's also put that into perspective. If you were to grow a single lettuce in the garden and you were to use one lettuce a week that you would normally go and buy from the grocery store, then that's actually going to be able to save you about $150 a year, because lettuces, at least here, are about $3 each. If you use a lot of herbs, then you're going to be able to save even more. One bunch of herbs from the grocery store at about $4 a week is going to cost you $200. Thinking about getting one of these gardens to cut down on your grocery bill, you really need to take stock of what you're buying and then look to switching to growing that in the garden so that you no longer have to go get that from the store. So I promised you a list of pros and cons, and we will get to that. But first of all, I want to give you a quick visual tour of the whole garden, and then we'll jump into the individual things that I like and don't like about it. I'm actually going to start with the cons because I want to end on a positive note, and there's a lot less cons than there are pros. So we'll start with the bad and end on the good. So one of the things that can be a con, or at least a bit daunting, is putting this bad boy together. There is a lot of instructions. It's not like it's not doable, but it's not as easy as some of the other systems. Now, there's reasons for that. It is definitely something that's going to take a lot more time to assemble. I did mine by myself. There was a couple of points where it would have been beneficial if I'd had a second person. I'm only about 5'4", and I only have the double. If I had the triple, I really think you would need another person, unless you're taller or stronger than me, in order to help get that third level on top. So if you want to know about how much of a task it is to put together, I will put a link up above to the video where I did exactly that. So the second thing on my list of things I don't love about the family rise garden are the lights. Now, it's not the lights themselves, they are a full spectrum LED, but it is the fact that they are stationary. So on here, you're going to have about 12 inches of space from the grow deck up into the lights. On the bottom level, there's more growing room. You have about 18 inches. I also have the Air Garden Farm, and those lights are able to move, and you can gradually move them up as the plants go. So basically, I really wish that the family rise garden did have the ability to raise and lower the lights. And their normal cycle is to be on for 16 hours and then off for 8. Number 3, and the final one on my list of things I don't love about the family rise garden, is the fact that the water is shared on all the levels, which means that whatever nutrients you're putting through are going to cycle through the entire system. This is one of the main reasons that they give you this is the old style of nursery, but they give you a nursery to start your seedlings in, because you just want to start them with fresh water. You're not going to be wanting to start them in a system here where you have different nutrients that might be in there that are not going to help them at the stage of growth that they are at. Wish there was more of a different control, that you can control the different pH levels, because it kind of limits how you can grow things. If you have plants that prefer a higher pH and certain ones that prefer a lower pH, you kind of probably have to end up in the middle, which isn't going to really let either of them thrive. So you have to be kind of conscious of the ideal pH level that your plants that you're putting in the garden enjoy, and make sure that they're kind of on a level playing field, so that you're not negatively impacting any of them. I have also used one of my hydroponic systems to start a whole bunch of seedlings for planting outdoors. And again, that's going to be harder to do in this unit because the shared water that's circulating all around. And I am planning to do a comparison video between the Family Rise Garden and my AeroGarden Farm Plus, and I'll touch on some of these things, the negatives and positives of both, a little bit more there, and why you may want one over the other. Now we are into the list of the pros, which is long. I do love this thing. I have to give some cons because there's always room for improvement. Number one on the list of pros is the design. This thing is beautiful. Like stylistically, you could have this easily in your main room and it's not going to be an eyesore at all. It is beautiful. The white with the light wood, I do love that. That's just pretty. I mean, look at it. It's so nice. In a dream world, I would have 3 of them, one of each size, which also then would give me 3 of the 18-inch grow heights, which would be ideal. That's where you're going to plant your taller plants. And then I would have 3 of the smaller 12-inch grow heights, which honestly, just like a wall of these would be amazing. And the amount of food you can grow on that would be quite significant. I mean, not everyone's going to have the money to have multiple units. And like I said, this isn't a dream world, but it would allow you to kind of have different pHs in different units. I just want to point out my little plant babies. These are the ones that bite back. I actually really like having them in here. I actually put them here because they like full sun, so I thought they would thrive best here. Plus, if I do get any little critters in here, then these guys do help to keep it controlled a little bit. And I mean, they're Venus flytraps. Like, how cool is that? Number 2 on the things I like about the Family Rise Garden isn't so much about the specific garden, it's more about the company itself. I found them to be extremely innovative. This, like I said, I have the older version of the nursery. There's already a new one that is thinner and more streamlined and looks a little bit prettier. This one kind of looks like a rotisserie box for a chicken, but you know what? It works. They're really vested in improving the garden and really care about it. They have plant scientists. They do live streams on their Facebook. They're just such a great resource. At least from my perspective, it really seems like they really truly care about the health of the plants, of teaching people to grow food, and they're just vested in it. So for me, I like that. Number 3 on the list of things I like about the Rise Garden are the seeds. If you've been around my channel for more than a hot minute, you know that I am a seed junkie, specifically an heirloom seed snob. Now, they do have some heirloom seeds, but they also give you the flexibility to be able to grow what you want. The variety of seeds that they have just in their own collection is pretty varied. I'll show you a couple of the ones that I have. They're just not typically things you would see. Again, I have used the AeroGarden. They're more standard. These ones have a lot more variety, and I love me more seeds. Okay, so I have some that are in the older boxes, and they have some newer style of boxes that they are switching to, but they have things like butterfly borage. They have some small peas. So this is the Patio Pea Pride. So I got the salad mix when I got the unit. It has some bronze arrow lettuce, arugula, Paris Island cause, which is a romaine, and a red streaked mizuna. Also with the unit, I got the variety pack, which has the little bing tomatoes, kale, Swiss chard, and a sweet red pepper. Then we can get into some of the other ones. There is a lavender. Lavender can be a little tricky to germinate. I like to put mine in the fridge and just chill it first. I do find that helps with germination. They also have a cabbage. This is a pointed one. I don't know. I just like the fact that it was pointed. There is a Mexican mint tarragon, and like so many more. You can go on their site and see. And again, they're constantly introducing new seeds. They have their Rise Reserve collection. They're always bringing in new stuff. So now if you're checking out their seeds and there's nothing that you like, or you are just a complete heirloom snob and don't want to grow anything but heirloom, or you just have your own favorite varieties, they also offer these seedless pods. These are just ones, they already have the hole just kind of where you would put your seeds, and they have nothing in them. I use a lot of these. Now, the only thing with these ones is they don't have the foil on, so I tend to cover them with an aluminum foil because we don't want light, because light means algae, and nobody wants to deal with that. Number 4 on the list is nutrients. Now, again, I'm always going to kind of compare it to the AeroGarden. That's why I want to do that separate video, because we'll know the AeroGarden, which comes out of the box with a single just AeroGarden nutrients that you use all the time. I'm not saying it's bad, not saying it's good. I just want to point out the differences. When you come to the Rise Garden, they have the specific sprout, which is what you're going to start using at the beginning when the plants are just sprouting, as the name would imply. Then as they get a bit older, you start introducing the Thrive nutrients. That's used in conjunction with the sprout. As well, it gets used in conjunction with the blossom that you're going to start introducing as the plants get older. So I just like that there were different nutrients that are addressing the different cycles or the different life stages of the plant. Again, attention to detail matters. I had planned to talk about this next one in a bit, but it kind of jumps right off from the nutrients, and that is the app. Because you may be wondering, if there's 3 nutrients, how am I going to know what to put in? Now, you could also just go away from their nutrients and use your own. That is something that I'm going to be experimenting more with in general this year, is different nutrients and which ones do I like the best. But if you're using their nutrients, the thing that sets them apart as well is their app. The thing is on point. It will warn you when your water level is low. It shows you your water level. It reminds you when to clean the water. It keeps track of what plants are planted where, which is amazing because especially when they're little, sometimes you can forget, especially if you're growing multiples of different varieties. Really nice to have the app tracking it. On top of that, when you're using one of their plants that come from their collection, they have a wealth of information that is provided to you in the app about that plant. What life cycle it's at, when you should be harvesting, when you should be pruning. Like, it just guides you through the entire process, and it even kind of touches on the point when you may want to remove that plant. Now, that said, sometimes you also have to judge, and sometimes it doesn't grow completely in line with that, so they may be telling you to remove it, but if the plant is doing good, you just leave it. You do you, as with anything. Number 6 on the list is their attention to detail around water. And it ties into the nutrients that we were just talking about, as well as the app. So every unit is going to come with one of these sensors. You can use theirs, you can buy your own. It's really up to you. There is a really fancy one that I would like to get, but I have to save my pennies for it because it's quite expensive. Until then, I will use this. You have an option with the Rise Gardens to either use a sensor to test your water and control your nutrients, or you can use the AI that's built into the app. I prefer to use the sensor because I like to see numbers and know what I'm dealing with. If you don't want to mess around with that, then you could definitely go ahead and try the AI. So here we have the unit in its natural environment. It's kept in here. There is a special hole in the grow deck specifically for the sensor. You do not want the guts underneath getting dry. If I was going to do the testing, I would turn on the unit, and it will tell me what the temperature of the water is, what the electrical conductivity is, and if we press on this button here, it will change it to the pH levels. The button at the top is going to change between Fahrenheit and Celsius, and one of the most important things is to remember to turn it off when you are done. But pretty much to do the care, you're going to turn this on, you're going to enter in the temperature and the pH and the electrical conductivity into the app, and then that will tell you how much you need to add in terms of nutrients, as well as how much of the pH balance to add in order to keep your water in the best range for your plants. And then when you're done, make sure to turn it off. You don't want to mess around with all of that. You can just use the AI, and it will use the age of your plants, how many there are, and it will just tell you how much of the nutrients to add. So when you're putting in the nutrients, you're going to take off the cap, and then on this side there are all the measurements, and it will tell you how much to use. You just give it a gentle squeeze and it will fill up, and then you can pour it into the tank. Whether you're using the sensor or the AI, you're going to want to make sure that the plants that you're showing in the app in the Rise Garden are accurate, because it's going to use that information in order to tell you how much of the nutrients you're going to need to add, as well as how much of the pH balance that you're going to need to add. So if you remove a plant, make sure that you update it within the app, because otherwise that could throw off your levels. Number 7 on the list, I'm going to go with flexibility, or the ability to grow. Basically, all of the units revolve around the single family Rise Garden, which is the one that gives you the 18 inches of grow height. you then add on extra level. So if you buy the double rise garden, you're going to get the single rise garden plus one of the extra additional levels. If you buy the triple, then you're going to get 2 of those. So because I got the double rise garden, I did get the extension plumbing that was included in case I want to add another level on later. So you want to make sure that you hold on to this, because if you decide to get another level later on, you're going to need this. But that's what I love. They're giving you the flexibility. So if you're not sure or you don't have the money, but you think you might want a bigger one, you can always start with a single and then grow later and build more and add more levels on as your confidence grows, or you just end up wanting to grow more food. Number 8 on the list is the fact that this thing has a cabinet at the bottom. Cabinet is pretty big. Over here, you can see where we have the water level, or this button here is what you use to dim the lights. So you press it once, they dim, press it twice, it goes off, press it again, they come back on. So that's on the front of the cabinet. And then if, like I showed at the beginning, if you open it up, that's where you have your water, and I store all my nutrients under there, one of which has fallen over. And you also have your control panel over there. You'll become very familiar with that as you put the unit together. It's just nice to have a space where you can store some of the things, keep them out of the way. Depending how many seeds you have, you could be storing those under there too. Oh, the other thing I should mention is, I mean, this is a tote, so you're pretty safe there, but they give you this extra tray just in case there's any spills, which is just a nice touch. Number 9 on the list is their use of space. So I'm going to flip the camera around and I will show you what I'm talking about. The single rise garden is going to give you 12 holes that you can plant in. And then as you add on each additional level, you are going to get another 12. Each of these trays here has the 4 holes in it. This is what comes standard with the unit. I will talk a bit more about the other things you can change when I get further down a list of things that I love. So with my double garden, I have 24 holes to plant in. I don't have my AeroGarden Farm Plus up here right now, but I really wish I did, because that also has 24 holes to plant in. And the AeroGarden probably takes about the same amount of space as up here. By having it on the different tiers, you actually maximize what you can plant and what you can actually grow, because you can actually leverage most of the holes. Still probably not all of them, depending on what you are growing, because things do get big. As you can see down there, I am not using all the holes and it is way overcrowded. I have to do some pruning and cleaning down there, so please don't judge me too harshly. Now, if you were growing smaller things, maybe you could leverage all the holes. In any case, you're going to get much more use out of the planting holes that are available because of the way they are spaced out and because they have decided to go using tiers rather than trying to cram it into a small space. Number 10 on the list is hole covers, and these guys come standard, which is a big deal. So in any hydroponic environment, algae is going to thrive when there's light, nutrients, and water. And we have all 3 in a hydroponic environment to make sure that we're keeping as much light as possible out of the water and nutrient solution, which is where these hole covers come into play. They do also have them for things like the AeroGarden, but you do have to buy them separately. Rise Garden just gives them 2 off the bat, which is just another thing to love about the company. Number 11 on the list, I told you there was a lot of things I like about this, but number 11 on the list are the accessories that you can get. So I mentioned that the trays that come with it have the 4 holes per. You can also get other ones that have 8 holes or 12 holes. Depending on what you're growing, you may want to change the orientation around. So I'd like that they give you that option. They also have a trellis system, which I'll show you in a second, as well as plant stands. These are the plant stands. And what they're going to do is, when this is in the grow deck, these actually snugly fit underneath and they get really secure. And then, where did I put all the ties? I have some ties. Oh, okay, they're over there. These are the ties. They're gonna go around your plant. So the big part goes around your plant, and then the little loop can go around here, and then they just click together. I don't have enough hands. And then that will help to hold your plant more secure, especially for the bigger things. And then let me show you the trellis. The trellis is over here, dwarfed by basil and peppers, but that just clicks in with magnets, and then you can use that if you're growing things like cucumbers, or, you know, it's even helping to support the basil plants at this point because they're so big. Can I just show you? I love growing basil hydroponically. Look at the size of that Genovese basil leaf. Even the Thai basil leaves are massive. Like from the store, I've never seen Thai basil leaves this big. Basil is definitely one of the things that I don't bother even growing outside because it just grows so amazing in a hydroponic environment. Lettuce is another one. Plus, then you don't have to deal with pest damage. It's also great for seed saving because you don't have to worry about pollinators getting in and cross-pollinating. Number 12 on the list is how easy this thing is to clean. The ease of cleaning is kind of a game changer for me. I hate fighting with my air garden farm to clean it. And with this one, I don't have that problem. So I just want to show you how easy it is to clean. Each of these, they literally just lift off, and then this tray, well, it's full of water, but this tray lifts out. You can take it into the bathtub and give it a cleaning. These can just be wiped down. I'm going to take the whole covers out quickly because these are just flat on both sides, and you can wipe them down, which if you've tried to clean an AeroGarden, especially the AeroGarden farm, you will know it is a completely different fiasco. I will put the link up above to my AeroGarden farm cleaning video in case you're curious and just want to see what the difference is when you are cleaning one of those. But this, honestly, it is just so nice to clean. So this is the reservoir for the water. The pump is in here. The water drains down from above and feeds back up through here. So this is on the lower level where the water is going to drain down into the tank. And over on the other side, the water will be fed up to the top level. So the water is going to come up at the back, flow all the way around, and then drain down to the second level, which will take the same path, and then it will drain into the reservoir tank in the cabinet under the unit. So another thing I like is the fact that the tubing is clear, which means that it is going to be easier to clean and make sure if there's any buildup, you can see that you've gotten it all out. Yet, if we close this and go down here, yet the tubes that the tubing runs in are black, so you're not going to have any of that light getting in and basically leading to algae growth. It's basically like having the best of both worlds. And last on the list, rounding out the list at a fantastic number 13, is the fact that having one of these systems or multiple of these systems allows you to grow food year-round. As I mentioned, I live in Canada. It gets cold. It's the beginning of November, and we have already had a frost, and anything outside in the garden is looking mostly dead. But indoors, I have basil growing. I have peppers growing. The reason the top deck is cleaned off is because I'm about to replant it. I'm going to have a whole new video about that, about what I'm growing in there. Everything's going to be really tiny. It's going to be a fun video. But I can just keep growing. And as I mentioned, I don't even grow the lettuce outside anymore. I don't grow basil outside. I pretty much don't grow herbs for the most part outside because it's just so easy to have them in here and have them accessible all year. And then I can save the space outdoors for things that I can't, or don't tend to grow hydroponically, like onions, though I do grow green onions in here. I just finished them up. It just opens up the horizons. Now, my extreme is in the winter when it is so cold, but if you live somewhere where it's extremely hot, I believe Florida gets almost too hot in the summer to kind of grow a lot of stuff. Like you could switch to growing hydroponically when it's too hot. So when the conditions are not favorable, they're always pretty much favorable inside. That is my list of the 13 things I absolutely love about the Family Rise Garden and the 3 things that I'm kind of meh about. So to answer the question, from my perspective, yes, 1000% yes, this is worth the investment. As long as you intend to stick with it and use it, make sure you're growing what you would normally buy at the grocery store. It will cut down on your grocery bill. You will save money. You will be growing your own food. You'll be more self-sufficient. You know exactly where it came from. It's going to be pretty much as fresh as it could be unless you'd gone out to the garden and got it. It's worth the money if you ask me, because I love mine and I want more of them. I hope that you found this video helpful. If you did, I would really appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up because YouTube algorithm loves that. And then it helps me reach more people, teach them about growing both hydroponically indoors and outdoors and becoming more self-sufficient. So until next time, don't forget to enjoy the little things and to go out there or in here and make food grow. Bye, guys.